Hello everyone, Frank and Darren here again, continuing with Halloween, the franchise, talking about it, the best and worst of it, and this time we're talking about Halloween 6. The origin, the curse, theatrical, producer's cut. There's so many of them, Darren. We're going to dip into all of them. Really.
We'll double dip on this one, yeah, because we've got... Yeah,
it's a mess. It's a mess.
It is a mess. I watched the producer's cut. You've watched the theatrical cut. So let's talk about it.
All right, Darren, who is the best character for you in Halloween 6?
Well, the best character for me is again, like with Halloween 5, it's really difficult to pick one. I'm going to have to say probably Tommy Doyle. He kind of, I guess he's front and center in this film. It's Paul Rudd's first film, I believe. Correct, and for that reason, and because he's gone on to be who he is now, I'd have to say that he's probably the best character in it. I know that the filmmakers wanted Brian Andrews to come on board, and there were issues with his not having an agent and complications there. But I think they probably made the right decision getting Paul Rudd into this. He's quite watchable in it. He's slightly wooden, but he's quite watchable, and he has quite it's a central role in the film, isn't it? Protecting the baby.
Mm-hmm. He plays off that traumatized adult from seeing Michael as a kid and becoming obsessed with him, trying to find out more about him, because Michael's been gone for about 6 years, 5 years, like no one knows where he is.
But when you look at it, when you look back now and you see the reasons why they didn't take on Danielle Harris, they're just kind of a bit ridiculous now. Do you know what I mean? She wanted $5,000. And they said that was too much, which just sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But she smelt a rat, I think, as well, and just was probably glad that she didn't do it at the end of all this bloody shenanigans. It just, again, as we said in the last episode, this is not my Halloween anymore. All this kind of cult of Thorn and passing on this bloody tattoo, and it was just a load of cobblers, really, isn't it? I like the way it's one of the moments that I was really laughing at as well this morning when I was watching it was I like the fact that all the key characters of the film are listening to Haddonfield FM or whatever it's called.
built in the same place where Bucky was thrown.
Yeah, exactly. What are the chances, eh? There, everybody was listening to the same radio show at the same time. How big is that?
Haddonfield must be as big as New York City or London. To have its own radio station, for Christ's sakes.
It does. There's a nice Halloween atmosphere in this film.
There is. Yes.
I think it's one of the very few movies that was actually shot in the fall, wasn't it? And so you do get this kind of feel that it's Halloween, and they've kind of there's a real autumnal feel about it. The shots at the start with the streets and the leaves everywhere and the kids running around, it do make it feel like a Halloween movie. But it slowly starts to kind of go downhill not long after it kicks off.
I'm gonna have to say my best character is Kira.
Kara? Is it Kara? Kira?
Whatever. Kira, Kara, Camilla. She's the mother of Danny. She's a Strode. And she's in that house. She's come back to a family after having probably her son out of wedlock. Well, we don't know, the backstory to that. But she, as we know, is going to be offered up as a sacrifice to some point in the movie. Both in the producer's cut and the theatrical cut, and she just makes me feel like she's a protector of a baby. She has no emotional attachment to protecting her son. She just makes me feel good that she's in this movie. I can't say Loomis because he's not really in it, except for in the producer's cut, he's in it for a long time, a while. But in the theatrical cut, he's in it for 14 minutes total.
Yeah, he's like I say, I'm talking from the producer's cut perspective, and yeah, he's in it a decent chunk throughout this. Again, he's kind of like he was in Halloween 5, where he's just like fucking popping out of the corner of the room and dropping out of through the window, and he's just appearing from out of nowhere. But it's kind of what I like about this version of Loomis is it's cozy Loomis. He's retired now. He's done away
trench
with
coat's
the trench.
retired.
The trench coat's gone. He's grown a full beard. He just sits in his house under candlelight, listening to Haddonfield FM
In the country.
in the country. He's done away with the suit, and he's now wearing a nice sweater. And he's got a tweed coat.
He's
and,
full grandfather, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He seems a lot more. He's clearly taking retirement seriously. He seems a lot more grounded, and he's not as maniacal as he's been in the last 2 movies. But this cozy Loomis. I like this. We've had Cockney Loomis screaming and shouting all the time. Now we've got cozy Loomis. I like that.
Yeah. Who is your worst character?
It's easy. That's just so easy. And one of the reasons why he's my worst character is he's just unwatchable, I think, and that's John Strode.
Okay.
One, he looks like the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
What does everyone say? Poor man's John Goodman.
Yeah, poor man's John Goodman. Yeah, he's just insolent, isn't he, in this film? He's a creep of a character. He's just annoying every frame that he's on screen. And, the producer's cut doesn't show you the full extent of the death scene of his. He just kind of gets electrocuted. The lights dim in the house, and that's it. Whereas I think in the theatrical, doesn't his head explode all over the place?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
What about your worst character?
Barry Sims.
Oh, okay.
The DJ wearing nothing except for his heart underwear, flashing the audience, and definitely supposed to be a shock jock. It's supposed to grab viewers that way, talking about Michael and talking about where's he been, getting people to call in and get their theories. We only see him once, and Michael takes care of him. Good. He's probably the only person on screen I was like, thank God he's dead. It's raining red.
What do you think about Michael and the appearance of Michael in this film?
George P. Wilbur again. Certainly a little bit more heftier.
Yeah.
The mask is not too bad. It's not bad.
It's massive, though.
Yeah, I know. And the hair's like Doc Brownish.
Well, his hair looks like a mullet. There's a few bits.
Like Sonic the Hedgehog.
There's a few moments in this and in H2O where the hair's just got a mind of its own. And there was one part when I thought it looked a bit like Patrick Swayze's hair in Roadhouse. There's this kind of mullet thing going on that's, like you say, Sonic. It's just bizarre.
It's better than the 5 mask.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. I don't know what was going on there.
The neck was tucked in. Yeah.
As a gopher was the Halloween 5 mask.
It's almost like his George's body grew in proportion to the mask size.
Yeah, he definitely eaten a few pies between Halloween 4 and this film, hadn't he?
But I have to say, I think Michael's at his most savage in this movie.
Well, not so much in the producer's cut, but I know what you mean in the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
I mean, the death of Jamie in the producer's cut is prolonged and mean as well. I mean, she doesn't die straight away, and then she's sent to hospital, and then she gets shot in the head, which is just bizarre for a Halloween film. But the death in the theatrical cut is something else, isn't it?
Yeah, he basically mincemeats her. He looks like with that one part where she's trying to go out to him, stuck on those in that garden, the farm equipment, and he puts his hand out too. You're like, oh my God, he's gonna touch her. No, he just pushes her shoulder down and pushes her further. she's still alive, and Michael's like, all right, I'm gonna turn on the switch.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
it's
that
pretty.
was just like Jesus Christ.
Well, this is when they're really kind of getting away from what Halloween's all about, and it's all now. As we said a few episodes ago, people weren't going to these movies at this kind of time to see, to root for the hero in the film. They were going to root for the villain and to watch, to find out what new and inventive ways that these guys were going to kill people. And yeah, that whatever that kind of farming machine is or whatever that she dies on, it's just horrific, isn't it?
Your best line.
Best line in the film. We get a nice little kind of Loomis monologue in this film. A little, a kind of subdued, cozy monologue that he comes out with. That's sort of, he kind of raises his voice a little bit in it, but not to the extent of the filling station in flames. Not that level.
4-hour drive.
Get out now. It's the one where he's talking to I can't remember who he's talking
Deborah
to.
Strode.
Oh yes.
Sitting at the table with tea.
Sitting at the table. This force, this thing that lived inside of him, came from a source too violent. That particular line, I think it's great. It's again, it's another one of his sort of best monologues across the franchise, and certainly better than anything that he came out with in Halloween 5. Apart from that one line, "Evil, hell would not have him," or whatever he says. It's not the worst performance from Loomis. Obviously, that's Halloween 5. I would put this kind of after Halloween 4, I guess. But yeah, that's my favorite line. What about yourself?
I agree with you 100%. And, he's shouting at her, trying to explain to her how deadly he is and why he's going to come back here. He says, this house is sacred to him. He has all his memories here. His rage, Mrs. Strode. I beg of you, don't let your family suffer the same fate that Lori and her daughter suffered. You have any more honey for this tea? It's just like, but when he's yelling at you, he's sitting there and he's just all his rage. You're like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, this force, like you said, this source too violent, too deadly. He's like thinking of the words as he goes along. He's like, what other words can I put in there? Malevolent, But yeah, it's that scene where, and it's funny because Myers has probably been sitting there in the house, just waiting for him to okay, get along with her speech doctor so I can kill this lady. I guess he shows up, a few moments later in the house when Loomis leaves.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the best line throughout the whole movie. And I know, and Paul Rudd saying lines, he's very monotone. He's very, just flat. Not really an excitement. Not really an excitement. Okay, worst line.
Worst line. I mean, it has to be that whole radio show, particularly with the woman calling in, says that she wants to. I just think he's misunderstood. I just want to tame him and all this sort of stuff. He just needs to be loved. What's going on there? And again, like I said, it was lucky that all the main characters were listening in on that.
For me,
shocking line, shocking moment.
For me, it's got to be anything that Wynn says after they find him, after Loomis finds out he's the Man in Black.
Yeah.
Anything Wynn says, Dr. Wynn. Yeah. Like, Sam, you got to recognize the power. Oh, shut up, Wynn. Shut up. Everything you say is just garbage. Sam, you have to. Oh, it's just everything he says just pissed me off after that time. You should join us. You guys have talent. Shut up. Shut up, Wynn.
I do have one other line which I thought was really funny, and obviously they were trying to keep the effects budget down. And it's the line that Loomis gives to Wynn at the start of the film when he visits him at home and asks him to come back to Smith's Grove. And he said, "Oh, you look well. You look really well, Sam." And he goes, "I had plastic surgery, skin grafts. It cost a fortune. But at least I don't frighten people." It's all gone. It's a miracle. His hands are fucking healed. His face, there's no sign of him being burnt alive.
Could you, so Wynn should have said, "Sam, it wasn't the scars that were scaring people. It was you.
It was your gin breath that was scaring people."
People are running away from you into Myers' hands for safety."
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Your best kill.
Again, because I'm watching the producer's cut, there are a lot more kind of, I guess, toned down to, which I kind of like. You know, I liked the fact that Jamie didn't go the way she went in the theatrical cut. I like the fact that John Strode didn't die like he did in the theatrical cut, even though he deserved to have his head detonated. But I think the best kill is Tim in the bathroom mirror. After he's had the shower, the mirror's all steamed up, and I think it's quite an eerie kill. The mirror's all steamed up, and you just see Michael appear behind him as he sort of slashes his throat. Nothing too graphic, but kind of atmospheric and eerie with the steam in the bathroom and everything. I thought that was kind of my favorite kill.
For me, it's the it's in the theatrical cut. The railroad worker's neck being snapped, and then you see his bone from his spine coming out through the neck. But he's like, he looks like he looks like Chris Christopherson, the guy.
Yeah.
He's like, wah, get out of my truck. And then she's telling him, no, he's right there. No. And she screams, and then it's perfect. Now,
you don't really see that in the producer's cut, do you? You see his neck get twisted, but you don't see any of the kind of the gore effect that comes with it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my best kill. Your worst kill?
There's a few.
You had to wet your palate for that.
I did. Well, there's a couple. So remember, I'm watching the producer's cut again.
Yeah.
I guess one of them is the nurse that gets killed at the start of the film, because there's like conveniently the sharpest spike in the world sticking out of the wall in that place that he just kind of pushes her head onto, and kind of leaves her sort of impaled by the back of the head. It's like, what the friggin' hell was that spike doing sticking out of the wall like that? Wouldn't somebody have had that removed?
This is a hospital.
6 inch. Yeah, it's in the hospital, for crying out loud. It's almost like the scene in A Quiet Place when she's stepping down the stairs.
Oh,
and
nail.
There's that big nail in the floor. It's like, why was that nail there in the first place? I know it got kind of dragged up, but why was it there in the first place? Why has somebody hammered a nail through that plank of wood? It's about as convenient as this giant spike on the wall in the hospital for no reason at all. Just
for pure effect. That's it.
Yeah. So that nurse kill at the start is one of my worst kills. I think she's an odd little character, Deborah Strode. She's a funny little woman.
Librarian.
That sort of thing, isn't she?
Lonely.
And why she married that? Why did John Strode marry her?
For the Strode Realty Empire.
Yeah, probably. She's the bit where she kind of gets murdered. She's sort of scrambling around on the floor and between all the sort of laundry on the washing lines, and her glasses fall off, and which she becomes instantly totally blind at that point. Which sort of reminded me of Velma in Scooby-Doo. Whenever Velma's
Jinkies.
glasses. Whenever Velma's glasses came off, she was just like, what the fuck is, where am I? Where am I? I wear glasses and my eyesight's not great, but if I take my glasses off, I can still see things.
You can still run away if you have to.
Exactly, yeah. I'm not instantly, it's not like a blackout, which is the way she was acting, like really.
Oh, Magoo.
So I think Deborah Strode, who's immediately a really kind of irritating character anyway, a funny little woman, I think her kill is just pathetically staged. It's just nonsense to me.
You know what would have been a worse kill for her, or a better kill? Keep her locked in the house with her husband.
He would have done it before long.
Or she would have done it to herself.
Yeah, exactly. Go on then, your worst kill.
Oh, John's head exploding. That is my worst kill because
that's what happens when you get electrocuted, you see. Things just blow up.
We have never had a head explosion in the franchise ever except for John Strode. Why is it in here?
Sartain, maybe. You could say Sartain's head exploded after
with a stomp. With a stepped on it. Michael stepped on it. But we never had fucking thunder from Big Trouble in Little China, you know. We never had that explosion. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. It doesn't belong in there. It doesn't belong in a Halloween movie. It doesn't belong. It's almost like he went out into outer space and gravity made his head explode. You know,
yeah, it is. It's like the end of Live and Let Die when I can't remember the guy's name. Is it Kananga or whatever the villain's called? He's played by what's his Yaphet Kotto, and he puts that fucking little bullet, that bomb in his mouth, and he rises up to the ceiling and explodes.
Or in we're talking about Bond for a minute, folks. License to Kill, where the guy
in the chamber.
In the chamber, and he does the pressure, and he's No, this wiggles
was
his fingers. Yeah, it's stupid.
Dumb kill, a dumb kill. But
and it was in slow motion, the explosion, because when a head explodes, you have to do it in slow motion.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And but it looks like fireworks come out or glitter.
Glitter.
It's all shiny and sparkly,
like Kingsman.
Yeah, like confetti.
You have to, it's the law that head explosions have to
make it pretty.
Like scanners. Yeah, make it pretty. Like scanners, and like we were talking about the other day, there's a video on our channel about a head explosion that's in Wes Craven's Deadly Friend, where Anne Ramsey's head gets obliterated with a basketball and her head pretty much explodes. It's a similar sort of thing. They've shot it at a slower frame rate, and so or a high speed frame rate and slowed it down. But it looks it looks fucking rubbish, doesn't it?
Like you say, it's like about it. It's so ridiculous.
Glitter cannon going off.
But it sounds like balloons exploding too, like. And Michael didn't get any blood on him, no brain matter.
Yeah.
Imagine if he just went, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that. That was stupid of me." Oh well, I'll just wash myself with that bloody underwear from Deborah that I put in the washing machine. Yeah. Oh my God. All right, now finally the best moment, because we're going to get to at the end of this. I want to talk to you about how this movie could have been better, but your best moment.
There is one moment for me which is almost like a callback to the original Halloween, and I think it's done really well. It's shot really nicely. It's a little bit too bright, I think, but it's where Danny and Cara are frantically sort of knocking on the door at Mrs. Blankenship's house as Michael is chasing them. Mm-hmm. And it feels like a real callback to when Laurie Strode was kind of running across the road and banging on the door at the next door neighbor's house. So that's it's not much of a best moment. There aren't many best moments in this film. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people like it for whatever reasons, and that's great. Do you know what I mean? I totally respect the fact that some people will see this movie as quite a decent entry in the franchise. For me, it isn't, because
But it's better than 5.
It is better than 5. It is better than 5, and it's better than Resurrection. But I remember first seeing the Halloween films not long after they came out, the original not long after it came out. And so that's my Halloween. That's what I
Yeah.
was brought up with. And so, whereas Halloween 4 is your kind of one of your favorite entries in the franchise because it's what you saw 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people who saw this first will kind of gravitate towards it because they've an attraction to it. But yeah, the Danny and Cara frantically knocking at that door as Michael's slowly chasing them across the road. It is probably one of the best moments in the film, I think.
Because he's walking not slowly. He's actually kind of like he's fast walking.
And the angle's good as well over his shoulder, so you can just
Yep.
see the kind of the corner of the mask, and it looks good. It looks good.
So my best moment is in the theatrical cut, and that's when Michael goes crazy on the operating room staff. And this is where Wynn is in there. They're performing some kind of surgery, doing something. And Michael's just, he has all the freedom he wants to go walking through the hospital, because they think he's probably a leashed pet. He's theirs. They can command him whatever they want to do. But he walks past the operating room and he's just like, you know what? These fuckers really piss me off. And he picks up this big fucking machete. It's just like, who the hell operates with that fucking thing? And you see him go to town. Everyone's dying. Everyone's getting cut up. Blood's flying all over the place. And you see Wynn backing up slowly, trying to get out. And it just goes to prove that Michael cannot be bound. He can't be tied. Which gets to me to a point in the producer's cut. They chained Michael up in the jail at the end of part 5. We've seen this.
Yeah.
He's chained.
Yeah.
But yet, in the producer's cut, we get to see the flashback of 2 people carrying him out with his hands locked in handcuffs, thrown into a van like some kind of person from Taken. That's weird. That's just weird.
It is. The whole thing doesn't matter which version you watch of this film. They're both not very competent. And
No.
I mean, I was just thinking then about we're not really talking about worst moments in the film because they're kind of covered by worst kill, worst line, and worst character. But if I had a worst moment in this film, the shot in the producer's cut, I'm not sure whether it's in the theatrical. I'd have to watch it again. It's a little while since I've seen it. But it's that shot with Wynn, Cara tied to the table.
Yeah, it's only in the producers.
Yeah, and Michael stood kind of guarding at the side, and it's like, what has happened to this
over
franchise?
to the left.
Yeah, what has happened to this franchise? What is all these kind of rituals that are going on? And Michael stood guard, and it was just ridiculous. It's just.
The only thing that scene was missing is Michael following a butterfly. Just going.
With some chopsticks.
Yeah, just. He's just looking off somewhere, and yeah, that scene was just weird as hell. Mrs. Blankenship is part of the cult.
Yeah, it's just. And the whole.
Who wants an orgy with her? Because all cults are nothing but orgies. They got Wynn and Blankenship, and the only one that looks good there is a secretary. And there's some random guy just over there. My one problem too is that ever since HD came out, when everyone says this, the Blu-rays and everything's 1080p and higher, or even 720.
Yeah.
When Danny was walking with that pumpkin, and at the end of the street, he sees the van and the men in black. And the man in black is looking like he was wearing an old executioner's outfit.
Hood. Yeah.
And he's got a black sock on his face and a hat that's too small for his head.
It's just mental. I mean, they were just picking up the threads from Halloween 5 and trying to make some sense out of it. We all know nobody knew who the man in black was.
No.
We'd never a clue, and neither did the people that made the film. So they were just trying to decode all Halloween 5. Yeah, they were just trying to make some sense of it all, and it just went off on a tangent. And And I was watching it today, and I hadn't watched the producer's cut since the Shout, I think it was Shout Factory or Scream Factory box set came out about 6 or 7 years ago, and I was excited to see it then, and then when I did finally see it, I was a bit sort of, well, whatever. And I watched it again today for the first time since then, and I'd totally forgotten about that whole scene at the end with the stones on the hospital floor, and Michael, and them stopping Michael as he walked up to them. It's like, just fucking kick them out of the way, for crying out loud. What are you doing?
Move to the side.
Yeah, step over them.
There's a circle. Oh, how about if I go this way? Seven.
Yeah, and that whole thing at the end with the tattoo and and when it transfers over to Loomis, and he's screaming. Yeah, no wonder, and Loomis is screaming, like, more so than he was screaming at the end of Halloween 4. It was just nuts. It really is. And they just didn't know how to end the film, and you just get that kind of that shot of that pumpkin, and it just fades out. It's just, it doesn't make any sense at all.
And Michael's filled with green juice.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like Reanimator.
Yeah, and I don't know where all that comes from either, or what is. Jesus. I mean, we joked the other day that perhaps he's one of the androids from the Silver Shamrock factory, because they were vomiting green juice all over the place, weren't they, at one stage?
All that tang and orange juice.
Yeah. Frozen orange juice or whatever it was. But yeah, this film's just nonsense. It just doesn't appeal to me, and I only watch it. Do you know what? There are a few films that now and again I watch to give them another chance, and there are films like Alien 3, for example, that every so often I dust it off and go, is it really not very good? Let me just double check, and then I come out of it going, yeah, well, shit.
Why did I do that?
Yeah,
Wasted
exactly.
my time.
At least you can have fun with Halloween 5.
Yeah.
With this, it just takes it a different place altogether, and just almost sinks the whole franchise. They did well. They did well to come back with H2O, which we're going to talk about in our next episode.
I think that the music in the producer's cut, they tried to put the original score from the first one in the producer's cut.
Yeah.
Somehow, for me, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me sometimes. At some moments, the soundtrack from the theatrical cut kind of is a little better, being a little bit more modern. A little bit.
The jazzed up rock version of the Halloween theme.
A little bit.
Machine.
It was changing with the times, and I think the movie would have been better if they took the beginning of the producer's cut, kept it up to the part where Loomis and Tommy get drugged, and they're going to the hospital. But then that part of the theatrical cut, it takes over from the theatrical cut at that point. So the ending is there.
Yeah.
But that one scene where that girl's coming out, how does it feel to be damned, brother? I was like, what who the fuck are you? But the whole stones, and she's being sacrificed, and she's looks like something out of Midsummer. Got flowers in her hair, and like you said, Michael's just standing there watching a spider make a web or something. It's a movie that had promise. It had promise, but then like we were talking about before when we did our intro, they didn't. It was Halloween 666. It was the curse. It was the origin.
I think wasn't a title going to be Halloween: The Return or something like that.
Yes,
it was. I don't know. It wouldn't have made it. At this point, you're turd polishing. That's what you're doing. It wouldn't have made a jot of difference what it was called, because it's still not very good.
It's still shit. When this movie came out, I had high hopes for it because I heard that Quentin Tarantino might be involved in it, and I was like, great.
He was going to be originally. I heard an interview with him not too long ago where he said that the Weinsteins asked him to direct it, to write and direct it, and he actually proposed at that time that Jamie Lee Curtis come back, and one of his
because he's a big fan of the series. The
He
original,
is, yeah,
at least.
yeah. I think the fact that she didn't want to come back at this stage was one of the reasons why he just kind of said, thanks, but no thanks. But yeah, there's an interview as part of the Eli Roth did a horror show in the US who did with covering all the different subgenres. I can't
History
remember what
of
it
Horror.
was called.
Yeah.
History of Horror. That's it. If you listen to the podcast of that, a lot of the interviews that are on there are kind of fleshed out. There's a lot more to them. And the part where he's interviewed, there's a whole episode where he's interviewing Quentin Tarantino, and he talks a little bit about his involvement or almost involvement in the Halloween franchise with the Weinsteins. But yeah, it's interesting. You should check it out.
Yeah. So I guess that's the end of Halloween 6. We can't. We're going to get next on board, of course, with H2O, where it looks like it's coming back. We're getting back to its roots. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more next time. But folks, thank you so much for all the people that have subscribed recently. Our numbers are growing by the hour, which is great to see, and we're getting some great views on these shows that we're doing. Thanks to everybody who's liked and subscribed to this series. The button's down there. Ding the thing. If you want to see more of these, we're gonna carry on, and I think we're even gonna do the Rob Zombie ones now. We weren't gonna do them to begin with, but we're talking about doing them, because I think there's some fun to be had with those films.
Just wait to get part 2.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the whole thing wouldn't feel complete without doing the Rob Zombie ones, and I think we've got a bit.
We should ask Dave to come back on Halloween 2. Rob Zombies. We know how much he loves that one.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do that. But yeah, that's it. Anything to add, Frank?
Nope. I'm very happy we're continuing. We're halfway there. At this point, we're halfway there.
We are.
To the end. And all leading up to Halloween Kills, which everyone's going to go see, including you, Darren, of course. And I can't wait to talk about that. And,
yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, we're going to keep pumping these suckers out as long as you guys want to watch them. But as always, stick to the roads.
And the best of luck.